Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military veterans and first responders transform their lives from the bedrooms to the worship. We're in the battleroom. It's a fantastic place. I can't mess with the buttons, but you can. So I'm bringing in a special guest. He's one of my favorite special guests. He's been working with me for several months. He's a dad. He's a TV producer. He's a veteran. He does so many things. He asked me how I manage things. I'm going to ask him how he manages things and like him up on this interview, and we're going to go talk about his past and his present that's going to make you a better future. So, Kenneth Bradley's going to join us live to the stream. Hey, Kenneth.
Yeah, hey, there we go. Hey, yeah, I'm glad to be on the show. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, like I said, you do more than me, but you asked me. We're going to ask you how you handle it all, but we want to hear more about the past as we go on any show. Tell us your war hero story, how long you were in service, how long did you serve, where you were, and then what made you actually get out, because we all eventually get out of the service.
Yeah, absolutely. So I served in the Army for about 17 years total. Came in 2002. I did about 2 years of college right out of high school. Kind of decided that I spent a lot more time partying and using the ID to get into clubs than actually going to class. So I had to make a life decision, and it just so happened a recruiter was on campus that day, and he kind of got me hooked in on a dare. It was like, hey, how you liking school? And I was like, it's all right. He was like, you want to do something fun? I'll give you $5,000. I was like, hey, man, so where do I go? 2 days later, I'm on a bus heading to Fort Benning, Georgia to start my career. I mean, $5,000 to a college kid, eating a 2-piece and a biscuit was a lot of dough, man. So signed up, and the initial plan, like everybody, I'm just going to do one term, figure out what I want to do with my life and get out. That initial term turned into a 17-year career. Yeah, man. I started in Alaska, which was amazing. Went to Iraq with the 172nd, those guys. We ended up leaving Alaska, going down to Fort Benning, Georgia, catching that ride with 3ID. Good grief, man. You want to talk about a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
Did a couple more tours in Iraq with those guys. Finally came back about 2011, headed over to Fort Bliss, Texas. Had a great time down there. First time in the Fires Brigade, first time in the tab. It was amazing. Decided to go overseas one more time, get my hands wet. Went to Germany for a couple of years, and then came back to Fort Bliss. So weird story. As I'm going to Germany and we're kind of talking about our transition, getting ready to talk about retirement. My wife decided to get the itch to join the military. So I was an OC over in Germany. We had went out on an extended rotation, did a 30-day tour. I come back, there's a letter on the table. Hey, signed up for OCS. I'll call you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Wow.
So, trying to call the family or whatever. I called my mother-in-law. I was like, hey, where's my wife? And she's like, oh, she didn't tell you? She left Germany to go to OCS. She's in Fort Benning in OCS. And I'm like, okay, cool. So,
wow.
I get an email a couple of days later. Hey, made it to Benning safe. Everything's great. I'll talk to you in a couple of days. I'm like, all right, cool. Which sounds weird on the surface, but my wife and I, we've always been, we were enlisted together, and she decided to get out to do the spouse thing over in Germany. I think she stayed about 6 months before she realized that being a full-time spouse wasn't exactly her career path or career trajectory. So she got that itch again and decided to wanted to cross over and, give it a shot on the commission side. So that's what spurred her going to see a recruiter, man. And I'm telling you, it's something about my wife and I. We're really spontaneous when it comes to that. So literally it went from, hey, I'm just going to talk to the recruiter to see, to her signing up and leaving in a couple of days. And we didn't have any kids at the time, so it wasn't really a big deal. So she did that. She did that, and I ended up doing another year in Germany, and then we ended up meeting back over in Fort Bliss for what ended up being my final ride, and then her first duty station. That was it, man. I ended up getting out in 2018. I ended up having to medically retire. Hip, back, knees, basic combat guy stuff. Ended up going bad on me. After my second hip surgery, the doctor was like, "Look, guy, no hips, no service." And I was like, "It's like, all right, well, I mean, I've given it the old college try. It's time for me to, throw my boots on the line and call it a career." And overall, man, it was amazing. It was an amazing ride. I don't regret a single moment of it. Even in my worst days, um, I always look back fondly on it, man, because it's something about that nostalgia, right? You look back on it while you're going through it. It's some of the worst days of your life, and then you go back and you look at it, in a reflective mode. It becomes some of the best worst days of your life. So, um, with that being said, I had a blast, man, and I'm very thankful for what it set me up for now on my new career arc.
So was there any hard or low points when getting out? Because it was like 2017, 2018. Was it difficult at all?
Yeah, absolutely. The economy was just kind of coming out of the Great Recession. When you med board, you don't really have a lot of reaction time. You go from, okay, hey, I got 2 years to start winding this thing down, to, hey, you got 60 days, figure out what the hell you're gonna do. So there was a lot of anxiety. We had just had our second daughter. Um, and it was just a rough time trying to figure out, going from being the active duty spouse to now I'm a retired stay-at-home dad spouse.
Yeah.
Just that anxiety of having so much structure and literally knowing what you're going to do every day of your life for the last 17 years to holy shit. you know what are we going to do? It was just a rough transition, man, and I'm thankful for my wife because she just stayed on me with that constant encouragement. Just that constant reminder, like, hey, you have to go grow up. You have to figure out who you are now. That guy that left in 2002 isn't this same guy 17 years later. So you have to go find yourself. Don't stress. Take your time. Try a couple of things. If it doesn't work out, try something else. And she kind of gave me that leeway. And then luckily we had enough savings and retirements and investments and stuff to where it wasn't a rough transition. Financially, I know a lot of guys who end up retiring once that check cuts, until you get that first VA retirement check, man. That's a rough period for a lot of guys. But
Yeah.
thankfully for us, man, the train kept rolling and we were able to kind of have a good time.
That's a good thing because that's not a common story. I've interviewed several people, and usually that's not the common thread. You and another lady that was in the army in El Paso is like the only two that I've met so far. It's like it was a breeze. I'm like, okay, it was not a breeze for me, but that's a good thing. I hope that's more the normative each and every day. I'm hoping more and more veterans jump on these lives and watch this through Amazon, watch it through Roku, watch it on Easy Way Wall, no matter where they're watching, even on Pedopolo, where they can gamify their podcast, that they can go over and take their game to the next level, become that marriage, become that family, become that leadership superhero. Right. So talking about hero transformations, what made you transform from war hero to superhero? You started doing these talks, these amazing talks, and you have a show coming up soon, but what made you jump into that? Because you're like stay-at-home dad and retired, and you're like,
Yeah, absolutely, man. So about a year before I ended up med boarding, I was still a platoon sergeant down on the line, and we would go down to the Texas Veterans Home in El Paso twice a week, and we'd spend about 2 hours there just kind of chatting it up with the veterans, letting them know that they're on our mind and stuff. And one thing that always stuck out, man, we would take one car, and we did it by design. We would take one car so that once we got done, we got back in the car and we share stories and laugh and joke and kind of talk about what happened. So we all would have this common theme of, like, no matter who we spoke to within that veterans home, we'd always have one mind-blowing story that was just fucking outrageous, right? And I got to thinking as I was getting ready to transition, I was like, man, when these guys pass away, we're gonna lose these stories, man. You're hearing frontline experience about things going on in Korea and Vietnam that you wouldn't dare read about in the history books, right? You kind of get the overall picture of, hey, soldiers had it, this way. We ended up winning the battle, but you don't hear the day-to-day. Yeah, man, KP duty and this, that, and the other. And I remember this one time the LT got lost on patrol. those stories that you know are invaluable to us in the veteran community, man. Those are the sweet spot stories, I like to call, and you'll
Yeah.
never find those in the history books. So I made it my mission to kind of start archiving and recording those stories for those guys who are passing away, man, so that we don't lose them to time.
That's really cool. So you started to go over and doing that. So you had to start, I'm assuming, small budget. You're like going over and breaking out the iPhone or the old school cameras and stuff like that.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I lie to you not. It was literally me, a tripod, and a digital HD handheld camcorder. And man, I'm telling you, I thought I was top of the line at that point. No microphone, no nothing. Literally just me. I set the tripod up. They had these two wooden rocking chairs in front of a fireplace. And we would just sit there and literally I would call down and I'd schedule ahead and say, hey, who can I talk to, who would like to come on camera? And they had a sign-up sheet. And we'd block off 30-minute blocks just to sit there, and the guys would be like, all right, hey, I'm gonna tell you about the time, we were waiting on the ammo drop and we were down to our last 100 rounds per man. And then we got overran on the fire base. It was a shit storm. And you're sitting there like, you're like, insane, man. What happened? And he was like, what do you mean what happened? We fucking survived. I mean, just crazy, crazy, amazing stories, man. You're like, how is this not in the history books? And I just, I always found them fascinating. And I thought to myself, man, if I enjoy these stories so much, there's got to be an audience. There's got to be a demand for these stories. And that's kind of how we got the idea of 10-minute stories.
And that's really cool. So when is that going to air? Because I know it's going to be soon, right?
Yeah, actually, the first episode airs tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on the Easy Way Network, right here on the War Hero, the Superhero channel. We got a great guest, Mr. Henry Murphy. It's a guy I've known for at least a decade. He's an entrepreneur out of Atlanta, Georgia. Has several businesses. A guy I look up to, I consider a mentor. And we just kick it, man. And he dropped some dimes and some wisdom and some guidance about how to get started, man, and how to persevere. One thing that stuck out about that interview is Henry's gone through several different companies, several different transformations, and each step of the way, he's never been deterred. He'd take one and try it, and if it didn't work, he's considered a pioneer in the serial entrepreneur game. The guy's just an ideal machine, man. Every time you turn around, every 2 or 3 years, he has another project, another adventure that he's out trying to make profitable. So it's a great interview. I hope you guys tune in. It's amazing. I had a blast taking it, and I'm sure you guys will love it listening to it.
The cool part of it is you don't just catch it on the Easy Way on the live at 8 o'clock. Anybody can go do video on demand after that on the Easy Way app, on Apple, on Roku, on Amazon. That is the amazing thing. So if you guys are watching and listening and you thought, hey, I'd like to have a show like that, you can connect with me or Kenneth to go over and to do that. It's just an amazing process now to have 2020. You ever think you'd be having a live TV show on a digital domain that goes through 15 different platforms? So I'd love to go over and talk about the next steps in our interview. Is that great transformation into that story. Now, as a superhero, how do you help others transform? Because I know the interviews is a start, but what other ways do you help our military, veteran, first responder community go over and grow?
Absolutely. So one of the key things we do is we try to set up, whenever you sign up for an interview with My 10-Minute Stories, and what separates us from every other interview platform is we set you up for 2 interviews. The first interview, we kind of bring you in, get your background story, pretty similar to what we're doing now, and allow you to kind of highlight where you are in your journey. When you come back for the second interview, we put you on a panel with 3 other guests in your business space. One of the examples I like to use is a t-shirt designer, for example. If I bring on a guy who's a t-shirt designer who has a couple of designs, we bring him in, we talk about his show and where he is. When he comes back for that second interview, he's on a panel with not just himself, he's on a panel with a dropship expert, a marketing expert, a production expert, and we try to allow those guys to network and collaborate on the show. So we not only promote your show and we not only promote your business, we also try to network and collaborate and give you what you need when you identify a weakness or something that you're struggling in your business.
Wow, that's a pretty elaborate, in a sense, not scheme. That's the only way that comes to mind, but it's an elaborate organization to go over and to get people in those similar spaces and to collaborate. And then you're doing a live show at the same time. So it's almost like a Shark
Absolutely.
Tank in a sense.
Absolutely, man. It's fun, it's chaotic, but it's organized chaos in a good way. Um, and you know what, the feedback we've gotten from the first season, man, is a lot of guys are thankful for being able to make those connections.
Mhm.
And it's amazing to get those feedback stories. I have one guy that I think he's episode 4 or 5. Mr. Eddie Richardson has a motorcycle club here in South Carolina.
Mhm.
Retired police officer. The guy's phenomenal, man, doing great things. He From the time he interviewed our show to us promoting him, his club grew by over 2,500 members in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Applications. So just getting the feedback from him and how thankful he was for that exposure, man. That's why we do what we do. And I'm glad to help any aspiring transitioning service member or community servant. If you're looking for a platform to come out and showcase your skills and your talent and your journey, let us know.
That's the amazing. And you're just starting on the Easy Way Network tomorrow evening, and you have all this cloud. Now it's going to like explode. So
Absolutely.
definitely jump on the train if you're going over and listening to this. I need to go jump on the train because I need to go over and do that. I know I've been doing this for a while, but I'm like, for me, I'm like, yeah, the train kind of goes and then doesn't go, but we're going to keep on trucking. So that's an amazing process to go over and hear. So I'm
Absolutely.
very excited for you. Like I said, all my clients that go above me, I'm like, that's awesome. That is my joy. It's like, if you're thriving better than me, that's great. But I'm going to glean off some stuff to go over and learn at the same time. And everybody, hopefully you're taking this wisdom. And the last wisdom piece that Kenneth's going to pass along to our audience is 3 superhero tactics. So I want you to visit back, like when you were getting out of the service, or if you're meeting with somebody that's trying to make this transition either into digital media, producing TV show, maybe social media, mobile, whatever, like what we do each and every day. What would you give them as 3 superhero tactics that they could go over and thrive and not just survive?
Absolutely. The 3 R's for me were instrumental in my journey. The first R is respect. You got to respect the process. You got to respect the grind. You got to understand not every day is going to be a great day, and not every day is going to be a horrible day. Some
Yep.
days you're going to be really high. Some days you're going to be really low. As long as you respect that process and understand that it's just a part of success, you'll be fine. The second R is resiliency, being able to bounce back from adversity. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to give up in the last year. Uh, just struggles with organization or doubt, self-doubt, confidence, whatever. Just being able to have that resiliency to know that, hey, I'm down for a second, but I'm not going to stay on the mat for a 10 count. I can come back from this. And then the
Mhm.
third R kind of ties all together, and that's resolve to stay the course, man.
Mm.
You gotta trust the process. You gotta stick to your journey, man. You gotta stick to your journey and see your way all the way through. So again, respect the process. You gotta have the resiliency to bounce back, and you gotta have the resolve to see it through. If you can maintain those 3 R's, man, and write it on your heart, you'll be good to go.
Yeah, that's going to make legacy because legacy is not built like in moments. Even the YouTubers like Mr. Beast, just give him for an example. He's 22. He's making up to, they say up to 300 million. Some people say 13. The numbers can't get it's scattered, but he's doing really well. He has 42 million, but he's like the first 100 videos, they're just going to suck. Just get out there, refine, go over and grow, start a little bit, one bit at a time, and go from there. That's what's most
Absolutely.
important. So just grind it out. I mean, if a 22-year-old kid is going over and went from Minecraft to crazy videos, and my kids are like, I love Mr. Beast, we can have that love too by going over and taking your 3 tactics and having that resolve. So
Absolutely.
so lastly and not least, I want to thank you for coming on this show. If you can give like a little shout out on that ticker website, because we've been telling everybody about it. We want to hear more about it, and then we'll close out the show.
Absolutely, guys. You're more than welcome to come visit the site, schedule your interview. As you see, the prototype shirt says, "What's your story?" Every day is a great day to tell a story. We'd love to hear it at www.my10minutestories.com, www.my10minutestories.com, and you can find us on Facebook at My 10 Minute Stories, Instagram My 10 Minute Stories, Twitter at My 10 Minute Story. My daughter just set up a TikTok. I have no clue what that is. She set it up today. I'm going to figure out what it is or how to use it. You can find us there at KTA Investments, my parent company. We are accessible. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear your story.
That's awesome. So if you guys are listening, watching on the replay and whatnot, Kenneth is our War Hero Superhero today. But on our TV show, it's a little bit different. We actually do a competition. So if you want Kenneth to go over and to join the ranks of a War Hero to Superhero and be live on our show right behind his show, so that means he'll get 2 spots in a day. So if you want to up his level, 3 seconds is all you need. Why do I say 3? That gives a view. We want you to glean all the wisdom of 20 minutes and 44 seconds and counting. But if you don't have the time, which we hope you do, but even if you don't and you just want to support Kenneth, give 3 seconds. That gives a view. If he gets the most views in 72 hours, so 3 seconds in 3 days, we'll go over. And if he gets the most views, we'll elevate him to our show. So all you have to do is go and do that. And now it's Kenneth's responsibility to share it out because we don't want to be biased at all. So you get to do it. We gave it out to 7 platforms, including on the Easy Way wall. Now it's your responsibility if you want to be uplifted to that War Hero Superhero TV edition. That's what we go over and do. So I want to thank you for joining on the show. Any last things you want to give to our audience, parting wisdom before we close out?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Every day is a great day to tell your story. Don't let a day pass without writing a great story in your book, man. That's it. Thanks for having me, Daniel, man. It's been a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, and the great part is now books can be video, so they don't have to be as hard to write.
You better believe it.
All right. Thanks, guys. We're going to check you guys out tomorrow for another War Hero Superhero story.
Hey, thanks.